Ms.C.KALAIMAGAL, Assistant Professor of English, A.D.M. College, Autonomous, Nagapattinam. Today we are going to see about William Shakespeare drama Macbeth. I have to give a small introduction about Macbeth. Macbeth is one of William Shakespeare's most famous tragedy, believed to have been written between 1603 and 1607. The play tells the story of Macbeth, a Scottish general who receives a prophecy from three witches that he will one day become king of Scotland. Consumed by ambitions and inspired to action by his wife, Macbeth murders King Duncan and takes the throne for himself. However, his reign is short-lived as he is consumed by guilt and paranoia, leading to his downfall. And first, you have to see the characters of Macbeth. The first person is Macbeth. Macbeth is the protagonist of the play, a Scottish general who receives a prophecy from three witches that he will one day become a king of Scotland. Consumed by ambition, he murders King Duncan and takes the throne for himself. However, his reign is short-lived as he is consumed by guilt and paranoia, leading to his downfall. And then second is the character of Lady Macbeth. Lady Macbeth is Macbeth's wife, who is consumed by ambition and urges him to take action to make the witches' prophecy a reality. However, she is eventually consumed by guilt and madness, ultimately leading to her suicide. The next one is the three witches. The three witches are a mysterious figure who prophesy Macbeth's rise to power. They play a general role in the play plot, manipulating Macbeth and driving him to commit murder in order to fulfill their prophecy. Banquo is Macbeth's friend and a fellow general. Like Macbeth, he encounters the three witches and receives a prophecy that his descendants will inherit the throne of Scotland. However, he is murdered by Macbeth in an attempt to prevent the prophecy from coming true. The King of Duncan. King Duncan is the king of Scotland at the beginning of the play. He is a virtuous and noble ruler who is murdered by Macbeth in order to fulfill the witch's prophecy. Macbeth is a Scottish nobleman who opposes Macbeth's rule. He eventually kills Macbeth in single combat, fulfilling the witch's prophecy that no man born of a woman can harm him. And the theme of this Macbeth, the first theme is ambition. Macbeth explores the theme of ambition and its consequences. Macbeth's relentless ambition drives him to commit murder in order to fulfill the witch's prophecy, but it ultimately leads to his downfall. The second theme is guilt. Guilt is the central theme in Macbeth, which both Macbeth and Lady Macbeth consumed by guilt over their actions. Lady Macbeth's guilt eventually drives her to madness and suicide. While Macbeth is hunted by vision of the people he has murdered. The next theme is fate. The theme of fate is prevalent throughout Macbeth, with the witches' prophecies driving the plot of the play. Despite Macbeth's attempts to defy fate, he ultimately meets his demise at the hands of Macbeth, fulfilling the witch's prophecy. Appearance versus reality. Macbeth explores the theme of appearances versus reality, with characters often hiding their true intentions behind a facade of respectability. This theme is reflected in the witch's prophecies, which seems to be promises Macbeth's greatness, but ultimately lead to his downfall. And symbolism is the blood. Blood is an inquiring motive in Macbeth, symbolizing the guilt and violence that plague that character throughout the play. The image of blood is used to present the consequences of Macbeth's actions and the violence that surrounds him. The dagger. The image of the dagger is a powerful symbol in Macbeth, representing Macbeth's descent into a madness and his willingness to commit a murder in order to fulfill his ambitions. And three witches. The three witches are symbolic of the supernatural forces that drive the plot of Macbeth. They represent the darker side of human nature and the destructive power of unchecked ambition and significance and influence. Macbeth is one of the Shakespeare's most famous and enduring plays, with its themes of ambition, guilt, and fact resonating with audiences for centuries. The play has been adapted countless times for stage and screen and continues to be studied and performed around the world. Let me see that act-wise and scene-wise. The play opens, the first act, scene 1, the play opens with the three witches gathering amidst thunder and lightning. They plan to meet with the Macbeth that evening, when the battles lost and won at the set of sun. And then Act 1, Scene 2, at King Duncan came, a wounded captain tells the king that brave Macbeth fought well against the rebel forces led by Macbeth. He also reports that there was a fresh assault from Norwegian troops after they had defeated Macdonald. But Macbeth and Banquo doubtfully redoubled strokes upon the foe and pushed them back as well. Duncan thanks the captain for the honor of his words and his wounds and sent him to be treated by a surgeon. Rose arrives from Wife with further news of victory. The Norwegian king is pleading for a peace treaty and has paid a ransom, while the rebellious band of Cavour has been captured, and Duncan sentences Cavour to present death and tells Rose to greet Macbeth with his former title. Then Act 1, Scene 3, the witches meet on the heath. One has been killing pigs, another has been insulted by a sailor's wife. So the plot to cast a spell which will distract the sailors. Next, see journey to Aleppo. They hear Macbeth and Banquo approaching and cast a spell. The men encounter the witches that look not like the inhabitants of the earth. The witches hide Macbeth firstly by his title, then of clients, then as the Bane of Cavour, and finally as king hereafter. Banquo says there is no need to fear things that sound so bad, and ask the witches for his future. They predict that his children will be king. To be known, Macbeth demands to know how their prediction about him can be true when the Bane of Cavour is still alive, but the witches vanish. Rose and Angus arrive to tell Macbeth that he has been given the title Bane of Cavour by Duncan to thank him for his valiant efforts in the battle. Macbeth considers this a supernatural solstice. He realizes that to become king, Duncan would have to die, but he thinks this is a horrid image. Then he asks in an aside that change my crown me without my style. Banquo and Macbeth decide to discuss the witches' propitious at a later time. And Act 1, Scene 4, King Duncan asks about the executions of Cavour. King Duncan's son Malcolm reports that he confers and dies nobly. Macbeth and Banquo, along with Rose and Angus, join the rest of Duncan's party. Duncan thanks them both for their part in the battle and announces that his eldest son, Malcolm, will inherit the throne from him when he dies. Duncan then says they will visit Macbeth's castle as they travel from hence to Inverness and will celebrate there. Macbeth decides to go on ahead to tell his wife. He remarks to himself that Macbeth is now step on which I must fall down, or else overleap to get to the throne. Act 1 and Scene 3. Lady Macbeth reads a letter from her husband about his encounter with the witches. She fears that her husband is too full over them milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way of achieving the throne. She wants him to come home quickly so that she can pour the words of ambitions into his ears. She is interpreted by news that the king is coming to the castle that evening and that Macbeth is already on his way. She celebrated the fatal entrance of Duncan into their home. She calls on the spirit to unsex her and make her capable of murder. Macbeth arrives home and Lady Macbeth immediately plants the seed of her murderous intention. She advises him to hide the plans with innocence, but be a serpent and underneath. In Act 1, Scene 3, Duncan and the Thames arrives at Macbeth's castle and enjoying the gentle surroundings, and Duncan is delighted to see the honored hostess, Lady Macbeth. She welcomes him into their home, taking him to see Macbeth. And in Act 1, Scene 7, outside the banqueting hall, Macbeth considers his complex thoughts about killing Duncan. He struggles with his consciousness and decides not to go through with it because it is only his vanishing ambition that is pushing him onwards. Lady Macbeth tells him of leaving the hall. When Macbeth tells her that he has decided against killing Duncan, she is furious, calling him a coward and a beast. She goads him by saying that she would have dashed the brains out of her own baby if she had promised to him. Macbeth further persuaded by the strength of the plan, she will give Duncan 2 girls so much wind that they live as in death, allowing Duncan to be ungraded target for Macbeth to attack in the night. They will frame the girls for Duncan murder by covering the daggers in Duncan's blood. The final step of the plan is for Lady Macbeth and Macbeth to act horrified on the discovery of the murder and glamour rose upon his death. Macbeth settled to kill Duncan. Next, Act 2. Act 2, the first scene in the middle of the night, Banquo and his son Helens unexpectedly meet Macbeth. They are surprised he is still awake. Banquo gives Macbeth a diamond from Duncan to thank him for an enjoyable evening. Banquo tells him that he dreamed of the 3 weird sisters last night, but Macbeth lies and says he has not thought about them. Alone as he goes towards Duncan's chambers to murder the king, Macbeth sees a vision of Lady Dagger. He dismisses the vision, saying that it is the bloody business that is causing him to hallucinate. He hears a bell and goes to kill Duncan. Act 2 and Scene 2. Lady Macbeth awaits for Macbeth to return from a murder and assures herself that she dragged the gods wine so they will not awake up. Macbeth returns alarmed that he heard a noise. He is anxious, saying that he could not say Amen and hears someone crying, "Sleep no more." Macbeth does murder sleep. Lady Macbeth dismisses his fear, saying that he is blindly sickly. She sees that he has brought the girls together with him rather than planting them at the scenes of the crime. She urges him to return the dagger, but he is too scared. Lady Macbeth goes instead. Whistles, she is gone. Someone begins to knock to the door to the castle. Lady Macbeth returns with bloody hands. She chastises Macbeth's cowardice, saying she would shame to hear to wife. She assures him that a little water clears us of this deed. They just need to wash and get into bed so they do not get caught. Their knocking continues. And Act 2, Scene 3, the portrait answers the door of the castle to Macbeth and Lennox, who have come to meet with Duncan. Macbeth remarks that the household must have gone to bed very late, sleeping in so long. Macbeth shows Macbeth to Duncan Chambers, where he uncovers the horrible murder. They sound alarms which wake all the sleeping saints and Lady Macbeth. And Lennox tells Duncan's son that their father has been murdered by his gods, and Macbeth explains that he killed the gods out of fury. And Macbeth questions why Macbeth did this. While Macbeth tries to explain his reason, Lady Macbeth and finds, let be Banquo, the Lord's fear, to investigate the murder. Fearing for the lives, Malcolm decides to go to the England, and Donalbain decided to go to Ireland. And Act 2, Scene 4, Rose talks about a series of unnatural things that have been happening, including how the horses have turned wild in nature and began to eat each other, and it's dark in the daytime. Macbeth arrives and tells Rose that he believes that the gods who murdered Duncan were braved by Malcolm and Donalbain, which is why the two sons have filled the country. Rose reports that Macbeth has been named king and he plans to go to Scone for his coronation, but Macbeth heads home to fight instead. And Act 3, Scene 1, and Banquo suspects that Macbeth played most fully to achieve the throne. Lady Macbeth and Macbeth invite Banquo to a solemn supper. That evening, Banquo and his son Felix are going to out riding that afternoon. But Banquo promises to return in time for the banquet. Macbeth tells Banquo that he has heard that Malcolm and Donalbain are spreading terrible rumors. When Banquo goes, Macbeth delivers a soliloquy about his fears that Banquo's children will become future kings. If true, his murderous deeds to seize the Baron's capture will have been fruitless for his own family. He convinced two murders to kill Banquo and his son Felix. In Act 3, Scene 2, a Lady Macbeth is concerned about Macbeth's misery. She advises him not to think on past deeds, saying, what's done is done. Macbeth is plagued by fears about potential threats and terrible dreams. He conveys Duncan, who sleeps well in his grave. And Lady Macbeth encouraged Macbeth to put on a brave face for his guest that evening. He tells his wife that his mind is full of scorpions with fears about Banquo and Felix. He will not tell her what he has done about us the ceiling night to disguise his deeds. In Act 3, Scene 3, the murders attack Banquo and Felix. Felix manages to escape and Banquo shouts after him. So, Mace revenge. And Banquo is killed. The murderers decide to return to the castle and tell Macbeth. In Act 3, Scene 4, guests arrive for the banquet. Macbeth sees one of the murderers arrive with blood on his face and is pleased to hear that Banquo is dead in a ditch. With 20 trenched gashes on his head. He is disappointed that the warm Calais escaped, but he reassures himself that there is no immediate threat because Calais is so young. As the banquet begins, the ghost of Banquet sits in the Macbeth's place at the table. Macbeth is visibly shaken, but Lady Macbeth calms the guest by saying that it is a momentary fit. Lady Macbeth criticizes Macbeth for his flaws and starts when he is only looking at the stool. The ghost then goes away, but as Macbeth makes a toast to our dear friend, Banquet, it appears and he cries out the ghost saying, "Hence horrible shadow." It vanishes again, but Lady Macbeth says he has displaced the myth and tells the guest to leave alone Macbeth, and Lady Macbeth discusses how Macbeth declined the invention and did not come to the banquet. In Act 4, Scene 1, the witches cast a spell around their cauldron and the cat congratulates them. And Macbeth visits the witches and they show him three apparitions. Firstly, an armed head appears saying that Macbeth should beware Macbeth. Secondly, a bloody child appears saying, "None of women, one shall have Macbeth." Thirdly, a crowned child holding a tree appears saying that he will never be defeated until a great baron who to high Tyson's hill shall have against him. And Macbeth is researched, but as if Banquet descends will ever regain, the witches advises against his question, but he demands that they answer, and operations of 8 kings appears following Banquet's ghost. And Macbeth is deranged and angry, but the witches disappear. Lennox arrives with the word that Macbeth has fled to England privately. Macbeth wants to kill all the Macbeth family, including his wife, his baby, and all unfortunate souls that trace himself in his life. And Act 4, Scene 2, Lady Macbeth worries about why her husband has fled to England. Roses rescues her that Macbeth is noble, wise, judicious, but does not tell her more and leave. And Act 4, Scene 3, in England, Macbeth tells Malcolm of how Scotland is suffering under the tyrant Macbeth. Malcolm is suspicious of Macbeth and tests his loyalty by saying that if Malcolm becomes king, his own vices would be worse than Macbeth. Macbeth rescues several of Malcolm's slaves. And Malcolm is ready with the world sweeper and 10,000 men in invaded Scotland. Doctor tells how King Edward cursed people through touch with the gift of best work of true king. And Act 5, Scene 1, a doctor and Lady Macbeth, a gentlewoman watches a Lady Macbeth sleepwalk. Her eyes are open, but her senses shout. As she walks in, she rubs her hands and speaks in her sleep. And Act 5, Scene 2, the themes discuss how the English forces are approaching, led by Malcolm, Seward, and Macbeth. Macbeth is in Damsian, but his men are arising up against him. Some calling him mad, the group being their march towards Brindlebury. In Act 5, Scene 3, Macbeth angrily dismisses those who bring him reports of attack. He reasons himself that he cannot time to with fear because of the witches propitious, but calls for his armor to be brought him by a character called Psyche. The doctors tell Macbeth that he cannot help Lady Macbeth with the thick coming fancies that keep her from her rest. And Act 5, Scene 4, the Scottish lord gathered with Malcolm, Macbeth, and their army. They cut down boughs of the trees in by name, woods to use as camouflage, and shadow the numbers of our host. Act by scene 5, Macbeth continues to stand his ground against the sage. He has almost forgot the taste of fear. Satan reports that Lady Macbeth is dead. Macbeth reflects on the pointless nature of life, being only a tale told by an idiot, full of song and fury, signifying nothing. A messenger informs Macbeth that he has seen Bynum Wood moving towards Dunsinane Hill. Macbeth is unnerved that the prophecy has come true, but what he will die fighting. And after by scene 5, Malcolm's army have arrived outside the castle. They throw down their camouflaging branches to reveal themselves. Malcolm tells throughout the battle plan against the tyrant's power. And after by scene 7, Macbeth declares that he will fight but remains resolute by the prophecy that he cannot be defeated by anyone born of a woman. A young sword challenges Macbeth and Macbeth kills him. Macbeth enters the castle seeking vengeance on Macbeth for the murder of his family. And Malcolm and the sword enter the castle. It's happening in that scene 7. And after by scene 8, Macbeth confronts the Hellhound, Macbeth, and they fight. When Macbeth claims he cannot be defeated because he has charmed life. Macbeth reveals that he was from his mother's womb untimely referred. The witch's prophecy comes true as Macbeth kills Macbeth. And then after by scene 9, Malcolm is concerned about the safety of Macbeth and Young's word. Rose tells Worth that his son has been killed in battle, but died bravely. Macbeth arrives with Macbeth's severed head. He hails Malcolm, the new king of Scotland. Malcolm honors those who have fought alongside him against the tyranny of this dead butcher and his kind like queen. He invites them to see him crowned. Thank you.